Hi, this is Praneet Kumar and you're watching Medicircle. Today on our Doctor Speak section, we are speaking to Dr. Praneet Kumar, Advisor Executive Access India and Advisor Helius Capital Advisors. He's a thought leader in the health sector with over 4 decades of experience as healthcare business manager. Hi, Dr. Praneet. Welcome to Medicircle.
Hi, Smita. Good morning and welcome
Morning.
to all the audience who will actually hear this video.
So to begin with, Dr. Praneet, you have over 4 decades of experience in healthcare. How have things changed from then till now?
Well, I think my generation has been witness to a major transformation in healthcare system right from the day we entered the medical school. It was all paper and it was hands. Today it's more of technology, and the way things have evolved in last 4 decades, I would rather say almost 5 decades, medicine has come a long way in managing a lot more diseases than it was doing 5 decades ago. Just to give you a small example, the cancers were diagnosed pretty late. They still are diagnosed pretty late in India, but things have improved a lot. But in our undergraduate studies, we used to find patients usually coming in fourth stage. So by that time, they could not be salvaged. So the better diagnostic tools have come up. When we were students and we were the starters in as resident doctors, basically in high-end X-ray unit used to be the best imaging device. And then came the ultrasounds. So everybody thought now we will have more armamentarium with us to diagnose more patients. Probably this is the end of it. Then came the CT. So again, the same emotions. Now we can diagnose more. Probably this is the ultimate. Then came the MRI. Right? Similarly, on the lab side, in terms of diagnostics, there used to be a single specialty pathologist and a microbiologist.
Yes.
And third used to be a biochemist. Today, even there you find there is super specialization and the sub-specialization happening. Today, a microbiologist is evolving into a molecular microbiologist.
Yes.
So things have changed a lot from treating patients by just observing the pulse and auscultating the heart and lungs and doing physical examination with bare minimum investigations possible. And to now, you got host of equipment to assist you and monitor the patient's progress. See, when we started, there were no ICUs. So any patient serious used to be monitored like an individual patient, and a resident doctor would be made to sit with the patient. So we have done duties like that. The patient is serious, so the boss gives the instruction, you are looking after this patient from this time to this time, 8 hours, you are not going to move. If you have to move, you want to take a glass of water or go to the toilet, you have to make sure that somebody is sitting by the bedside of the patient. So from that era, now we are talking today of remote health monitoring.
Yes.
So healthcare has come a long, long way. And it is still, if you ask me, it is still probably the beginning.
Definitely. I think you have witnessed a lot of change. I mean, right from simple X-ray machines to CTs and multi-parameters. I mean, there are so many new devices which has come into imaging. So that is really great. So in your opinion, what are the challenges with respect to healthcare in India and how we can overcome them?
Well, the biggest challenge in India is that I would classify them into one is on the delivery side. The accessibility is still a challenge. You go to rural areas, smaller towns, hilly areas, hilly terrains, the access is still not there. The provision is not there. Then affordability is a major issue. See, public hospitals have lost confidence. People don't want to go into them. Although we all got our training in the public hospitals only, right? But somehow or the other, because the government of India's investment into health has been bare minimum. Till today, we are just touching 1.16% of the GDP. Whereas even if you compare Asian countries, they're much ahead of us. In terms of bed availability for inpatient hospitalization, again, we are falling short. The WHO recommendation has been scaled down from 5 to 3 per thousand, and we are still touching around 1 maximum, right? Similarly, the health resource, the manpower, we are short of doctors, we are short of nurses, we are short of paramedics. So on the delivery side, there is a big constraint of infrastructure as well as the resources. That is one part. On the disease burden side, we are suffering from double whammy. We still have infective disease. Forget this pandemic, right? We still have infective diseases. We are still looking to provide clean, safe water and sanitation to our population. And on the other side, we have already started having the outburst of lifestyle and chronic diseases. India is the diabetes capital of the world. So just imagine, we are sitting on time bombs, and both the time bombs require a very different approach. Our primary healthcare infrastructure, whatever was created by the government, is underutilized. Private sector, it is in the unorganized sector by individual doctors. Right? No organized body has actually ventured into primary care, maybe because of the viability reasons. But yet, if you invest more in primary care, you don't require much of tertiary care and quaternary care. Then you can arrest a lot of things much before they need a hospital bed. So these are the kind of challenges which are there. And the bigger challenge, I think, now with this pandemic is the healthcare providers have to adapt to the new systems. The doctors are perceived to be against technology, which is a myth. It is wrong. They do use a lot of technology, but unfortunately, the technologists and the business world doesn't understand why the doctor hesitates in adopting a new technology. You see a doctor, why robotic surgery, you see what they are doing. They are again playing with technology and they have mastered it, right? 10 years ago, we had only one Da Vinci in this country, and today they are multiple. They are reaching probably hundreds. And any budding surgeon today, he says, do you have a Da Vinci that I join your hospital? So it is not that the doctors are averse to technology. What they want is whatever technology is being given to them to use is safe for the patient. It will help them either in improving the outcome or shortening the process, or at least in terms of research, it will help them innovate something new. Now, this is where I think the challenge is both the worlds have to meet, join hands, understand each other's limitations, challenges, pluses, minuses, and then come out with solutions which are acceptable to both. This pandemic threw up. You see, I had been pushing telemedicine for more than 25 years, and it was not happening.
Now it has happened.
Yeah, and I'll give you a very small example. In 2007 March, Intel was holding a conference in Baramati, Mr. Sharad Pawar's city, right? And they wanted me to deliver a lecture on telemedicine. So I said, look, just for 1 hour lecture, it doesn't make sense for me to spend 2 days coming and going. You are talking of technology use. So let me present it from Delhi. And I will do, he said, no, sir, if you're physically not there, it is not going to excite any interest in the audience. I said, how much is your audience? And what is the profile of the audience? So they said, they will be technologists, they will be healthcare people, and they will be business people. So I said, fine, doesn't matter. I will do it from Delhi only. So at that time I was in Fortis, and our only unit in NCR was in Noida. And we were running a small telemedicine center from there. So I made a presentation on telemedicine with a live consult going on from the telemedicine room, a surgeon sitting beside me, talking to a patient, a farmer in Neemrana district from a village. And this was the second consultation between the patient and the doctor. And the conversation, I actually allowed the conversation to be presented to the audience there. And the farmer said, doctor, if you had told me that if I don't follow your instructions religiously, I will lose my foot, I would have taken the medicines on time. Now, he was a diabetic patient whose foot had a bit of gangrene. It was increasing. So now he was being advised that you come to center here in Noida and we will have to amputate your, at least the foot. We don't want to wait because otherwise we will have to amputate below the knee. The farmer said, look, I don't have money to come. My harvest is ready. So my crop is ready for harvesting. So unless I do that, I cannot come. He said, you prescribe me medicines again, and I promise you, I will follow every instruction religiously. Now, normally, a surgical belief is once the gangrene has set in and your great toe is affected, it's quite likely it will extend. It will not be managed by the medicines alone. But since he says he cannot come, he doesn't have money, everything done, and that is where the consultation ended. And there were so many questions that the chairperson of the session had to say, Dr. Praneet, can you switch off your side? I said, well, you are the boss. You should be switching off. Why are you asking me? If somebody is asking a question, I will answer. But later on, I followed up that consultation of that surgeon with that patient. And I came to know 15 days later, when they have the third consultation, it was a miracle that his toe, which was turning black, was turning back red again.
Wow.
More towards pink. So that was the telemedicine, the power of telemedicine. Because when the access is not there, when the person cannot come to you, and 2 months later, I presented the same video, same consultation, now with the follow-up summary.
Okay.
In
Same
Symbiosis Institute in Pune. Yeah, in Symbiosis Institute.
Okay.
There the topic was, is telemedicine a fad or fair?
Okay.
So I said, it's not fad. We have to accept.
Yes.
So the reluctance from the doctors has been because, you see, we have been taught basically to physically examine the patient. Technology is not going to take away doctors. There's a lot of stuff that you need to do physically. So much so, in our time, we used to be literally pressurized to learn the skills of observation. Just to give you an example, I was sitting with my boss in emergency. He had come to make a call to see a patient, and then he was sitting with me just to understand what I'm doing. Okay. And a taxi stopped outside the casualty. A patient stepped out. So he said, before he enters the casualty, give me the spot diagnosis. If you give me the spot diagnosis, dinner is on me. And if you don't, then dinner is on you. So the patient stepped out and he walked 2 steps. And I said, sir, he has got a perianal abscess. He said, no, he doesn't have a perianal abscess. I said, no, sir, bet is there. Let us go and examine the patient. Let him be seen by the CMO first. He will be referred to surgery. And then we will go and examine. So would you like to examine him first, or should I examine him first? Because normally the protocol says I will examine him first and then you will see. He said, now that you have raised that issue, so okay, I'll go and examine first. Okay. I said, fine. So when he came out, his head was like this. Oh. Raat ko ghar pe aa jana. Now that is what is going to be not available with telemedicine platform.
So you were taught in such a way, sorry to interrupt, so you are taught in such a way that you mastered your skills just after stepping down of the patient from the ambulance or the taxi. You understood that this person is suffering from this. This patient is actually having this ailment.
We were taught in a manner that you have to observe each and everything.
Okay, that's great.
See, as a resident doctor, we were taught by our seniors in the visiting hours, don't go to the ward unless there is an emergency. Okay. Right? Because that is the time the families are there. There is a lot of noise, unnecessary questions, and you will be just wasting your time because your work will not be completed and you will have to come back again and do the work. Contrary to that, I used to go and take rounds when the families were there. Okay. Because my philosophy was, this is the only time I get to meet the family members. Okay. I get to know their apprehensions, okay, their fears, and their queries about the welfare of their loved one. And it used to help me a lot. You see, I was a surgeon basically. And in those eras, the painkillers used to be pethidines and morphines, narcotics, right? And I used to be shuddering using them, although there was protocol, there were written protocols, accepted that safety measures have taken, and you should be using it. Rather than using those medicines frequently, I used to counsel my patients before the surgeries and prepare them for some amount of pain bearing, so that the amount of morphine and pethidine that has to be administered post-surgery can be reduced. Sure. So at the end of the month, when the boss looked at the register, he says, how the consumption has gone down to 50%. So I said, there are 2 factors. One, there was a pilferage. Second, I don't give these injections, even though they are written in the orders. I have told the nurses, if the patient is crying in pain, before giving me, give me a call. Even if I am gone back at 2 in the night and at 3 o'clock you send me a call, I'll come. I'll assess the patient and then decide whether the injection should be given or something else should be given. So things are changing. Today we have much safer analgesics, much safer painkillers and pain management techniques than we had to earlier. See, the pain is such a subjective symptom that for me, even a prick may not have any effect, but somebody else, a prick he may shout, scream. So how do we actually assess pain? So WHO came up with a graphics.
Yes.
You might have seen those
Yes.
graphics, but
Smiley.
on a scale of 10, yeah, the emojis are there. So when you are actually assessing the patient, you look at the grimace on his face, and the
Yes.
grimace will give you the code which level of pain he's passing through. So these are the kind of things which today, because of technology, probably they will be lost. Maybe not in the next generation, maybe in the next to next generation, these attributes, skills will be lost. But on the other side, the technology is making you diagnose much more than what you were diagnosed 50 years ago or 40 years ago. So every step has a pros and cons.